three wonderful practitioners. Candace, who's in Lucia Island, and I think she's on a YouTube video today. And then Sophia, yes, and then Sylvia. So the thing that I want you to pick up is the wisdom that
source. Usually I'm the gal who does the sunshine and flowers, butterflies, and puppy dogs, and so on and so forth. But today I'm going to take a different approach. I'm going to approach life as source from the dark side. Earlier this week, I lost a really good friend and my brother. In the last year and a half, we've become very close, and he passed away on Thursday. Now, being a practitioner, I help a lot of people through situations like this. And this gave me an opportunity to practice what I preach. Was I standing in my truth? Do I really believe that which I talk to others and tell others is true? And I found out I do. It's very difficult losing someone you love. And yet it is the beginning of something so wonderful for you. And it has awakened so many things within me and within other people around him who knew him. So let's go back, way, way back, to the very beginning when there was a huge explosion and bang, the universe was created. There was chaos, there were explosions and collisions and fires. And out of all of that chaos, all of that, there were created all of the elements. All of the elements were created out of that chaos. And stars were created, and these stars continued to expand, and the universe expanded. And there were more explosions and more chaos. And yet out of that chaos came order, came beauty, came life. We are going through a difficult period on this planet right now. What with global warming and the wars here and there, and our families being torn apart with racism, with wars, with people being sent overseas, and so on and so forth. But a lot of good things are coming out of this chaos. You can look and you can see how people are banding together. When there's a terrible storm, when Mother Nature loosens her anger and there's a terrible storm, people come together. They reach out to help each other. They show compassion. It brings out compassion in people. It brings out their spirituality, because people who haven't thought about the divine at all are suddenly calling upon God for help. They're opening their minds, they're opening their hearts. So something good is coming out of this chaos, out of this darkness. So many different things have been created because of wars. In medical advances alone, there have been skin grafts, blood transfusions, anesthesia, antiseptics, antibiotics. Silver, discovering silver, that's an interesting story. That comes from the bubonic plague way back in Europe, when the rich people thought they could avoid the plague by ingesting precious metals. And they did, some of them did, because silver is a natural antibiotic. And so today we have colloidal silver, we have silver imbued dressings that help to heal. Other things that have come out of chaos and war have been things that haven't really been all that great, like nuclear energy. In some respects, nuclear energy is wonderful, but they've used it also to create bombs, to create havoc, more havoc. But that same energy that is used to create the negative is used to save lives. Modern medicine, nuclear medicine, saves lives. It creates energy. Nuclear energy creates power for us to power our electrical appliances. So something good has come out of this chaos. Life has come out of it. Something has sparked. Other things that have come out of chaos and war are things like radar and the improvement of the airplane, so we can fly safely from one part of the world to another. Computers, x-ray equipment, wireless radio, duct tape was created during World War. GPS, synthetic rubber, all of these things have been created in a time of chaos. And so life comes from many sources, not just butterflies and sunshine, but life can be celebrated because out of chaos is created beauty. Out of chaos is created things that help society, that help humankind. One of the wonderful things that I see during this is what's going on in Ukraine. You all know that I'm very close to our group in Ukraine, that's Centers for Spiritual Living in Ukraine, especially in Cherkasy. And right now, they're going through a living hell. They can't sleep in their apartments because of bombing. They're being bombed day and night. And they are having to survive in the best ways that they can. And yet, when they have formed a group that 5 days a week gets together and meditates on peace and harmony. The center in Cherkasy is growing. They started new classes, and 12 people showed up. They are learning how to walk in the light. They are learning how to live their lives in love, regardless of what is going on around them. They now have a group of 12 people. And it is spreading. People are learning to live in peace. I cannot change the world. I wish I had a magic wand and I could wave it and everything would be okay and everybody would be walking in sunshine and playing with kittens. But that's not possible. But I can stand here, right now, in this very moment, the only moment we have, the only time that is real, the only thing that is real is right here, right now. And I can be in peace. I can radiate peace. I can radiate love. I can radiate light. And so can everyone else right here in this moment. And this is what changes the world. It is not my responsibility to change the world by myself. And so I choose to stand in my truth. I choose to stand in peace, in harmony, in compassion. And I choose to hold the high watch. And that is life as source.
Everyone, good morning. Celebrating life as source. It's a huge topic. It's going to take a lot to talk about this. I mean, there's so much to talk about. I spoke with Candace this morning. She brought me back down to earth. We have our humanity, and we're also spiritual. And so we feel, the humanity of life, and then, of course, we recognize that spirit is all source as well. One thing I always like, one of my favorite things to say is, this is the day of the Lord. I'll rejoice and be glad in it. life, I feel, is a celebration, and it's something to celebrate every day. I know some people will get mad at me and say Sophia is always living in la la land. But I feel that even in spite of hardship, there's always something good happening if we become aware of the things around us. And it is a practice, it is a way of living that everyone can ascribe to. And that's why I love Science of Mind, because Science of Mind gives you the responsibility for yourself and for your life and the way you live it. And one of the most important things I feel one should be conscious of in this topic is awareness. And I looked up the meaning of awareness, and awareness is perception or change in perception or knowledge of a fact or a situation. And I looked up the synonyms of awareness, and interestingly, you have consciousness, recognition, realization, cognizance, and there's like prayer, science of mind, spiritual treatment, right? And if you look in depth into awareness, different people have said that there are different facets of awareness: self-awareness, awareness of your, surroundings, physical awareness. So many ways to gain awareness. And one thing I was thinking about when I was thinking about the thought was, many years ago, before I even recognized that what I was, recognized spirit as truth was, I used to think a lot. I used to attach myself to a thought, an idea, and I'll hold on to that idea, and I will think that thing until always I'll think it round everywhere, all kinds of ways, and I'll end up having a serious headache. And then when I started meditating or sitting still, I looked back and I realized that I no longer had to think that hard about things. And that it seemed as if the information kind of just came to me much easier. It was like it floated into my awareness, periphery. I mean, I could all of a sudden find a book, or somebody will say something to me, and that will be the answer to whatever I was thinking about. I stopped having to use my mental faculties. It doesn't mean that the mental faculties are not necessary. One of the thoughts that I was thinking throughout the week was, because I did study philosophy, was that you could use logical reasoning to come to an awareness of a truth, of a fact. For example, you could say God is source, source is life, life is God, and then you could, get to your own conclusion about all those things, and then you can, transfer meaning into whatever those thoughts were. Or for example, you could say God is and I am. What does that mean? I am God, right? So whenever you say I am, you're saying God is that I am that you are, right? Those are inferences and deductions you can make from general statements. So for me, spirituality is experience. You have to be still and know and experience it. I remember one day, I was taking a shower, and then all of a sudden, I felt so good. I was like, oh my God, water is just an amazing thing. And it's just part of nature. And God, thank God for whoever thought about the idea of water, because and then all these thoughts started flooding in. And at the end of that shower, I was so grateful for the idea of water. Water for what it does, water for what we use it for, water for everything, right? That you recognize that water is an important element in your life, and it is a good thing, and it was created for the benefit of humanity, the benefit of mankind, the benefit of the world, and on and on and on and on and on and on. And thoughts like that, when you sit and you contemplate these things, that really changes the way you see the life around you, the people around you, the circumstances around you. I shocked my daughter the other day, round about Christmas. She was home, and she just passed by me, and all of a sudden, oh my God, Samantha, I love you so much. I'm so grateful that you're here with me. She was like, huh? It's like, but that was like, it was like a thing that came to me at that moment, and that was how I felt. Just to see this person and know that this person was in my life, and I didn't need to do anything special to have them there, and just having them being there for me, and that's the way the same thing I recognize with having people around me. The I feel that the people at home were part of my experience, part of my creation, and that I called for it and it came to me. And I look back at some of the events that have happened in my life, and it was like as if somebody came and stood before me, somebody was beside me, and I had people around me to support me. But I didn't know how that happened, but it just all happened. And it all happened for good, right? And so if we're thinking about life and celebrating life, it is just taking that moment to just recognize and just be grateful for those things, and that just are there. They're just there. And just being awake to them being there. Right? So one the out of that definition of awareness comes perception. How do you perceive the world? What do you see? And I got this from one of the books I was reading, Seek Not to Change the World, but Choose to Change Your Mind About the World. And the word choose jumped out at me because it is a choice. It is something that we choose. Nobody asks us to choose, but it's when we come to a place of recognition, then we know that we have the choice of how we want our lives to be, what we want to do, what we want to see, who we want to become, who we are becoming. It is our choice, right? Mind is where all change, all creation occurs. I think Candice mentioned that. It is in our mind. It is when we think about things, the way we think about things, the way we perceive things, the way we know things. That's how we create. That's how we, as it were, expand or grow. It is in our mind. Nothing is good or bad, but thinking makes it so. And most people will not agree with that, or some people will not agree with that, because good and bad, who cares? Who knows? It's basically what we think is good or what we think is bad. I mean, Candice just explained some of that to us, through her talk, that there are some things that we consider really bad going on, but in the midst of all of that bad is some good happening. We may perceive that to be bad, but really there is so much good going on behind the scenes. We do not know. The only thing we can do is hold a higher vision of what we feel is the highest and best expression or result we want to see, what we want, right? We of ourselves we can do nothing, but through Christ or through God we can do all things. And if we hold that higher vision, then we're able to change what we see, change the perception. Maybe we'll see better things, right? And so the questions to ponder. Who are you? What do you see? Are you someone who sees the gift or the good? And then what can you do? For me, I think putting a smile on your face is one thing, right? We can't pay a price for that. I remember one time I read somewhere, what's the name of the person who founded the SRF? Yogananda. Yogananda said, be a smile millionaire. Why not be a smile billionaire? Give out a smile. Give out a smile. The more you smile, it changes your physiology. It changes you, and it changes the people around you. Because when they see you smile, what do? Smile back. We're always mirroring ourselves, right? And then connect to nature. Nature teaches us a lot. You know, my example of water is just a prime example of just, you know, having that moment of just recognizing the gift in what is there, what everybody considers as a common thing, you know, and we forget that we live by water. Water is important to us. And then be still. Take a moment and just close your eyes and just feel yourself. Feel your space. What is around you? Be still, and you'll know. And then be grateful. There's goodness in gratitude. Because when you're grateful, you have more things to be grateful for. And I'll yield to Sylvia. Thank you.
I think I'm done. They said it all. Thank you, Candace and Sophia. My goodness. It is a joy to be here. I actually want to bring your attention to this quote. What does it say? Live your life in a way that is worth telling stories about. For the generations ahead, for the generations behind, for anybody around you, whoever's standing next to you in the grocery line, you're going to tell your story. And Mark Batterson, who's the author of Win the Day, basically the premise, you win the day, every day, consistently, you win your life. Yeah? So what is our signature story? When we recall our favorite wins and successes and our not so favorite losses and failures, from which did we learn the most? Well, let me pose the question in a different way. From whom did we learn the most? Well, personally, for me, give thanks to the community of humankind who continually provides innumerable life lessons. I am grateful knowing that there's always something new on the horizon to explore. As a little girl, I thought I would chase the sun. I would just get on my bike and chase the sun and catch the sunset. Well, that, of course, never happened. Cannot catch the sunset, can we? It was a long ride home. Well, nevertheless, I especially love that new discoveries in our natural world are constantly brewing and hatching and unfolding and becoming. The divine creative process is always responsive and active for all life with a capital L. For example, when I need to clear my head after too much pondering for answers, I step outside into my backyard, stand there for a few minutes with my eyes closed, and take a few deep belly breaths, deep and slowly, and with my eyes closed and sensing all that vibrant aliveness all around me. It's an uncommon backyard because I'm in it. And I see it and feel it to be that way. When I open my eyes, I then see what I was meant to see in that moment. Yeah? God's creatures doing what they naturally do. I said, you guys be quiet. I was having a quiet moment here. The little minions always follow me around everywhere. Now, so they're not pondering at all, right? I consider what I do, it's bringing, like Sophia said, the awareness. And like Candace was saying, in the midst of all that noise and what appears to be chaos is so much order, divine order. They're not pondering at all. This sacred moment I have, well, guess what? Problem solved. Everything clears, and the questions one asks and that I ask, that little voice, the message, the little banner floats across my mind's eye, and it says, just do it. And so I go back inside, knowing what I have to do, naturally. Yeah? Well, oh my goodness, what have we here? We have us a chrysalis. Because let me remind everybody that we already know that a chrysalis is a place where a caterpillar gives over to the most amazing sacred surrendering to a higher purpose. And it's similar, right? They go to us, we undergo transformation when we go deep. And as Sophia mentioned, go quiet, go deep, be still, listen. When we go deep, it's as though we're like that caterpillar, yeah? And we await with eager anticipation within that chrysalis, and we emerge with new body and beautiful wings as a butterfly. Do we? If we think we are, we are. If we think we can fly, just don't do it off a tall building. Not yet. So we know that we can move from old, stuck thoughts to new pathways and divinely inspired ideas and creative solutions. It's just plain miraculous, this life we get to live. Indeed. Look what happens. The colors change. Who was it that did that? I did. Why? Because I saw the beauty of the original chrysalis and I said, what would happen if I was to play around with some colors and add to it? It is that little creative imp in me, and which is in everybody. You see something, you go, let me splash some color. Let me throw a little more pepper into that soup. Let me shine my shoes a little brighter. Let me try something else. We are always creating solutions and divine ideas. We're chasing them like we chase the sun when it's setting. We get to live this life which is our life, which is God's life, when we get to observe life and we connect with each other. We get to look at each other, see each other. We watch. Who doesn't people watch around here? No hands raised on that one. Nor there. Okay, good. We like to watch each other. And again, as my partners have said here, we mirror each other because it's such a delight. Yeah? Because we find other life forms to be just as amazing and miraculous as we are. Yes? You animal lovers out there, I'm going to share with you one of my favorite animals in the whole wide world. Ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce you to the tardigrade. The tardigrade in Italian is tardigrada. That's the scientific name, which means slow stepper. I was amazed. Why would something with 6 legs or 8 legs be slow? Well, be it known that they are also affectionately referred to as the water bear or the moss piglet. What? The moss piglet? Yes, indeed, what you are looking at, somebody under a microscope. Is this how God sees us? Are we tardigrades? No. Let me tell you a little bit more. Oh my goodness. They are 8-legged, segmented micro animals. I personally call them adorable. Adorables pigletus. They're found all over the earth. They survive extreme temperatures and pressures. Oh my goodness, air deprivation, radiation, dehydration, starvation, all the Asians, all the ATIONS, they survive all that. In fact, they survived exposure to outer space. Is right, because the scientists thought that they should send these little darling creatures, my little friends, out to outer space and see how they do when they're out there in outer space. Oh, they did just fine. They did just fine. In fact, when they landed, they were found to be having a card game or something. They weren't even bothered by being out in outer space. Well, now the earliest known existence of these beautiful little creatures, these little, that's a depiction. So somebody thinks, well, if we fleshed it out, since it's under the microscope, we can see right through. But what would it look like if we fleshed it out like a little plush toy? It would look like that. Oh, yeah. And it's true. They've been here for about between 145 to 60 million years ago. And there were other creatures, and like Candace said, things started growing after the chaos and order, and things were beaming and booming. Well, let me just not go on with that because I'm so excited. I get so excited about life. And let me just say, that they're teeny tiny because you need a microscope to see them. You can find them like sometimes there's a moss, and in different parts of the world, mountaintops, down in the desert, over the plains, over here in the forest, wherever you find them, tardigrades are ubiquitous. And if you don't know what ubiquitous is, look it up and tell me. I figure it just means everywhere all at once. My God. So you find them in moss, in droplets of water, slow stepping it through. Amazing. I fell in love with the tardigrade that I have decided to take them on as my personal pets. They may be short and plump. They got 4 pairs of legs, which is nice, but that's a huge shoe expense. Anyway. And each leg is ending in like 4 to 8 claws. Maybe no shoes. Flip-flops. Or suction discs. Tardigrades are incredible. And guess what they eat? Not us. They eat plant cells, algae, and small invertebrates. We are not small invertebrates. But they can be viewed under a powered microscope, a low power, so everybody can see them. Now, I love you. Let me wrap this up for you real easy. Life is sacred. Yes? Life is miraculous. Yes? Say it with me. Life is sacred. Life is miraculous. Hey ho! Hey ho! Oh, you guys are so easy. Oh, my little tardigrades out there, yes. Well, I believe that this, what we speak, is true and normal, and yet I'm still in awe of the divine creative process which flows through each of us, through all life forms. Everything. Think about that. Next time you see an ant crossing the sidewalk, remember she's your relative. Now, we can choose to know all is love. Cha-cha, baby. We can choose to know all is love, all is light, and true blessings do emerge from life's adventures. We can choose, as somebody said, my Sophia, we can choose to shine our light. We can even do this within the chamber of our own individual personal chrysalis. We can choose to shine our light, for it is a divine light. It's sacred. It's miraculous. It flows onward, eternally, waves forward to the next life and the next life and the next. All generations. Be blessed, and I thank you so much, as do all.